Hi there, strikers. There's something uniquely disturbing about people vanishing into thin air. Read about these incredibly strange, unsolved cases. Although these disappearances span centuries, locations, age ranges, and circumstances, there's one common thread shared between them: a lack of closure. There are theories, speculations, and investigations, but never a decisive answer. On our incoming episode, I'm going to feature some of the cases of mysterious disappearances, of some missing that just disappear without any trace.
Strikers, here is the last part of Disappearance of Kelly and Bates. In 1993, Smith began grooming Kelly Bates when she was 14 years old, having met her while she was babysitting 4 friends. Approximately 2 years later, when she had left school, Bates moved in with Smith at his home in Furnivall Road, Gorton. She was concealing the age difference between them from her parents, Tommy and Margaret Bates. Bates' mother said of her first meeting with Smith after the two had started living together, "As soon as I saw Smith, the hairs on the back of my neck went up. I tried everything I could to get Kellyanne away from him." Although she had left Smith briefly because of arguments with him, she was once more living with him at Furnivall Road by the end of November 1995. Her parents noticed bruises on her, which she explained away as being the results of accidents. She became increasingly withdrawn, and in December 1995 resigned from her part-time job. In March 1996, her parents received cards, purportedly from her for their anniversary and a birthday, but only Smith had written in them. When Bates' brother tried to see her at the house, Smith said she was not at home. When a concerned neighbor asked after her, she was briefly shown at an upstairs window. On the 16th of April 1996, Smith reported to authorities that he had accidentally killed his girlfriend during an argument in a bathtub, claiming that she had inhaled water and died following his attempts at resuscitation. He also claimed that she often pretended to be unconscious. Police went to Smith's address and found Bates' naked body in a bedroom. Her blood was found throughout the house, and a post-mortem examination revealed over 150 separate injuries on her body. During the last month of her life, she had been kept bound, sometimes tied to a radiator or furniture by her hair, other times by her neck using a ligature. William Lawler, the Home Office pathologist who examined her body, said, "In my career, I have examined almost 600 victims of homicide, but I have never come across injuries so extensive." The following injuries were found on Bates' body: scalding to her buttocks and left leg, burns on her thigh caused by the application of a hot iron, a fractured arm, multiple stab wounds caused by knives, forks and scissors, stab wounds inside her mouth, crush injuries to both hands, mutilation of her ears, nose, eyebrows, mouth, lips and genitalia, wounds caused by a spade and pruning shears, both eyes gouged out, later stab wounds to the empty eye sockets, partial scalping. The pathologist determined that her eyes had been removed not less than 5 days and not more than 3 weeks before her death. She had been starved, having lost around 20 kilograms in weight, and had not received water for several days before her death. Peter Openshaw, the prosecutor in Smith's trial, said, "It was as if he deliberately disfigured her, causing her the utmost pain, distress and degradation. The injuries were not the result of one sudden eruption of violence. They must have been caused over a long period and were so extensive and so terrible that the defendant must have deliberately and systematically tortured the girl." The cause of death was drowning, immediately prior to which she had been beaten about the head with a shower head. Smith denied murder and claimed Bates would put me through hell winding me up. He also claimed that Bates had taunted him about his dead mother and had a bad habit of hurting herself to make it look worse on me. When asked to explain why he had blinded, stabbed, and battered Bates, he said she battered Bates, he said she had dared him to do it, challenging him to do her harm. Gillian Massey, a consultant psychiatrist, told the court that Smith had a severe paranoid disorder with morbid jealousy and lived in a distorted reality. The jury at Manchester Crown Court took 1 hour to find 49-year-old Smith guilty of Bates' murder, sentencing him to life imprisonment. The judge, Mr. Justice Sachs, recommended that Smith serve a minimum term of 20 years. He stated, "This has been a terrible case, a catalogue of depravity by one human being upon another. You are a highly dangerous person. You are an abuser of women, and I intend, so far as it is in my power, that you will abuse no more." The jury were offered professional counseling to help them deal with the distress of seeing the photographs of Bates' injuries and the sickening violence of the case. All members of the jury accepted this offer. Kellyanne Bates was born on May 18, 1978 in Hattersley, England, United Kingdom. Her family was always very close, and described Kelly as confident, independent, mature for her age. So it wasn't a big surprise when, at age 14, she told her parents she had a boyfriend named Dave. And that's where the trouble began. Kelly often babysat 4 families in her area. While on one particular babysitting job, she met James Patterson Smith. James was 45, and smitten with 14-year-old Kelly. She decided to keep many aspects of their relationship a secret, thinking her parents wouldn't understand. When she told them about Dave, they assumed he was a boy, probably from school, around the same age as her. Kelly and James got along great. He was her first boyfriend, and it wasn't long before she began to look for ways to spend more time with him. She started sneaking out at night, sometimes not returning home until the next morning. Sometimes not returning home for 2 days at a time. Feigning concern, Dave began calling her home, speaking to her mother about Kelly's activities. Instantly her mother felt she had an ally. A couple of weeks later, Kelly brought Dave home to meet her parents. When her father saw him, and saw that he was much older than he had expected, he asked his daughter, "He's a bit older than you, Kelly. Are you sure that's what you want?" "I would have been with older people anyway," Kelly answered. She had grown up around older people, even played hockey with girls in college. She was too mature for kids her own age. She told her parents he was only 32, so not too much older. As her mother caught sight of Dave coming down the stairs, she had a different reaction. "As soon as I saw Smith, the hairs on the back of my neck went up. I tried everything I could to get Kelly away from him." She began asking around, trying to find out if anyone knew Dave Smith, 32 years old, but no one had ever heard of him. It was as if he didn't exist. Her parents could have forbade her from seeing Dave, however they took some pride in the independence and confidence she exuded and opted to allow the relationship for now, even after Dave admitted to them that he was actually 48. 1 year older than Kelly's dad. Over the next few months, Kelly continued to see James off and on. He was charming and Kelly felt good about the attention he gave her. Knowing Kelly had lied to her parents, not once, but multiple times, she no longer felt like she could reach out to them, let them know what was happening with her relationship, when she had done so much to make them happy with it. After being with him a year, she began staying with him over weekends, Friday to Sunday. He would call and check on her constantly, exuding his control over her. This interest in her made Kelly feel that he truly loved her. He really cared to check on her more than even her family. By age 16, she is spending even more time with him at his home, not even bothering to call her parents. When she returned home, they almost didn't recognize her. She wasn't clean. Her hair was dirty, greasy and unkempt. Her clothes were dirty. Her posture eroded. Her head was always down, chin to her chest. Her mother put her foot down and told her, "If you don't like the rules we're setting, you've got to let us know where you are. Let us know you're alright. The next time you do it, you can go." Kelly chose to leave. A few days later, she returned home to pack her things. When her mom walked in, she found that one side of her face was just black. One solid bruise. Kelly claimed she had been jumped by some girls. She begins to notice other injuries as time goes on. Fingertip bruising around her neck. Bite marks on her arms. She always claimed she fell or even tripped. Her mother contacted authorities and asked what she could do. They instructed her to make a doctor appointment in Kelly's name. Then go in and explain what was happening. Then if Kelly ever turns up at the doctor, they will know and be able to assess accordingly. Her mother begs her to leave Dave, but Kelly refuses. She stops seeing her mother, telling her she got a job and had opportunity for overtime. Knowing Kelly enjoyed working, her mother believed her, and they only spoke on the phone from that point. By now, James has complete control over her. She no longer speaks to her family. She sends cards, but she doesn't sign them, and they're not addressed in her writing. Her brother tries to see her at her home she now shares with James, but James tells him she's not home. When a concerned neighbor asked how she was, he allowed her to be briefly seen through an upstairs window. She no longer went out. April 16, 1996. James makes his way to the police station, where he calmly tells police Kelly has drowned in the bath. Police went to her parents' house, and before they could say anything, her mother says he's killed her. Kelly was 17 years old. Police allowed her parents to view her body and demand they tell them what happened. Kelly was held prisoner 4 weeks, where James took his time torturing her with various types of household items. He burned her all over her body using hot irons and scalding water. He tied her hair to the radiator, and when her hair wasn't tied to the radiator, he tied it to a chair, or wrapped a ligature around her neck. He broke her arm, and then crushed both of her kneecaps, leaving her debilitated and fully reliant on him. Despite the overwhelming evidence of his torture, James maintained Kelly's death happened on accident, and that her injuries were self-inflicted. At the trial, James continued to declare his innocence. He claimed Kelly would put me through hell winding me up. He also said that Kelly would taunt him about his dead mother and often hurt herself to make it look worse. When he was asked to explain why he had blinded, stabbed and battered Kelly, he said that she had dared him to do it. Gillian Metzi, a consultant psychiatrist, told the court that James had a severe paranoid disorder with morbid jealousy, and that he lived in a distorted reality. The jury only took 1 hour to find James Patterson Smith guilty of Kelly Ann Bates' murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, serving a minimum of 20 years. This has been a terrible case, a catalogue of depravity by one human being upon another. You are a highly dangerous person. You are an abuser of women, and I intend, so far as it is in my power, that you will abuse no more. If you, or someone you know, is experiencing violence at home, please seek help. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline or go to their site where you can find information, resources, and even chat with an advocate. Perhaps the worst case of human torture ever known is the case of Junko Furuta, who suffered for 44 days. And this is the last part of Kelly and Bates.